Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How have you been?
Doing great. Doing great. Happy to meet you.
So excited to meet you. How's DC?
Not too bad. We had snow a couple of days ago. Still some on the ground. There's actually still snow on the ground from about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it's been cold, but it's going to thaw
I
out
wish we had snow.
So are you in Dubai?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
doing school here. I'm finishing high school here.
Snow would be quite rare there, I believe.
Snow would be great here, honestly. I've started a platform called Mind Over Meta, as I mentioned in our email. And it's a platform that highlights lessons for young entrepreneurs like me who are looking to go into the business field and want to do entrepreneurship when they're older. And it's to highlight the real successes and also the failures to let people like me understand that it's not all about success and you have to go through failures to learn and succeed in the future. And as a student, I've always been curious about how ideas turn into something bigger and how someone's idea can spark a whole business. So I'd love to get your insights as an entrepreneurship teacher and as a mentor in this field. So I'd love to ask you a few questions and just hear your insights.
Yeah, happy to help.
So, and it's okay that I'm recording, right?
Yes.
So hi everyone, I'm Kenza and welcome to Mind Over Meta. And today I'm really excited to be talking to Professor Jeff Reid from Georgetown University. And as someone who shapes future entrepreneurs, he's such a unique perspective and I'm so happy to have him today on the website. And I'm excited to dive into both the personal and the bigger picture sides of entrepreneurship. So let's start. So my first question is, if your high school self could see you now, teaching entrepreneurship to so many different people so many different people from so many different backgrounds, what do you think would surprise him the most?
I think the fact that I'm teaching would probably be not a surprise, but that I'm teaching entrepreneurship would be. When I was
You
in high
didn't think you were
school,
going to go into this field?
no, when I was in high school, I didn't know any entrepreneurs. I really had no exposure. My parents were school teachers, so I think I always had an interest in being a teacher. But nobody in our family were business owners, and so that was something I learned a lot about later in college and then later in graduate school. So entrepreneurship wasn't my first love. Education has been my first love, but I'm thrilled to be able to combine those two things because they're two things I care a lot about, and I love to be able to kind of spread this interest and excitement and inspiration around entrepreneurship.
And especially I feel like if your parents, the people you look up to the most are teachers, of course spark something in you to also want to do what they're doing.
Yeah, well, so I'm not a researcher. I don't have a PhD, and that's not that type of professor. But the people who have studied a lot about what makes somebody more entrepreneurial, and it's kind of natural to think that if your parents are entrepreneurs or people around you, then you're more likely to be an entrepreneur. It turns out that's true, but it's not because of genetics. Mm-hmm. It's not that some people are born to be entrepreneurs. It's the exposure. Yeah, and that's part of what we do. Even certainly exposure as children and up through high school makes a big difference, but even college and young adulthood, it's just knowing that entrepreneurs are not magical creatures, that they're not superhuman, that they can be just like you and me. That's one of the biggest challenges that we have to people pursuing entrepreneurship. So being exposed to it early, the work you're doing here with your project, with Mind Over Meta, all of these are helpful to just help people learn about entrepreneurship and make it so that it's not so scary.
Of course, I think at this age, having so much exposure to so many different opportunities and so many different people has been such an advantage and such a good opportunity, especially because my parents are both sort of in this field. It's so cool to be able to meet so many different people that are all all have the same goal, and it's just really interesting to hear everyone's different perspectives. Throughout these interviews, I've learned so much about everyone has the same goal and they're all entrepreneurs or have some relation to the field, but everyone's story is completely different.
That's right. Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. And one of the things that we believe, at Georgetown, we think a lot about why people should be entrepreneurs. And there's two big reasons, I guess. One is you want to solve a problem and make a difference in the world, kind of want to make the world better. And a second reason might be that it's something kind of internal, like a calling that you have to go after something. Neither one of those is, primarily driven by trying to get rich, although we believe in capitalism as well. But the idea that entrepreneurship can be this like really strong creative drive. It's not just something that you kind of decide one day, hey, I'm going to start a company. It may be more like, hey, there's a big problem. Maybe somebody should solve that. And then maybe that somebody should be me to solve that problem.
Like passion to want to fix like a problem. Like I think that's so important, and like to make an impact. So my next question is, what's one mistake as a teacher and as a mentor, what's one mistake that you see different entrepreneurs make over and over again? And what's a factor that separates the ones who grow from the ones who don't?
There's so many things that can be a personal strength that also ends up being a personal weakness. And a lot of entrepreneurs are successful because they have drive, resilience, they kind of overcome barriers. But where I see the mistake is where an aspiring entrepreneur thinks they know all the answers. And when they run into adversity, their first inclination might be, what I'm hearing doesn't matter. I'm going to fight through. And sometimes that's the right choice. But what I guess another way I would say it is evidence matters, right? Marketplace reactions matter. So if you're trying something and the customers aren't buying it, or your feedback loops are telling you that it's not working, you got to pay attention to that. Maybe you can tweak it and pivot and make it work. But I see too many entrepreneurs, they don't listen to the real world feedback, and they think that they know better. And sometimes maybe they do, but often that's the biggest mistake, is they keep trying to do something that they should have known was not going to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like there's always like room to grow, I guess, and like learn more from what you've already done instead of just like keeping it the same.
It's sometimes it's hubris. Sometimes it's a sense that I know better, or it can be from a place of weakness where a person, they're frail. They don't want real feedback. It's difficult enough to stick your neck out and say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, because it's really easy for people around you to want you to fail. Even if they care about you or whatever, it's just really easy to say, hey, this person's trying to be different. They don't know what they're doing. And so once you kind of stick your neck out and do that, it's really hard. Sometimes what you were trying to do is not going to work, and it's really hard to admit that to yourself, right? Yeah. So I've seen people they stop pushing the edges. They stop because they don't want to see.
They're afraid of failure. Yeah.
They're afraid of failure. And so they can kind of be what we might call a wantrepreneur. They're like telling everybody they're an entrepreneur, but they're not actually making progress on their business. Yeah. And so
you have to grow, like from the start, like you only have to grow. And like if you don't learn from what you're doing and you're just staying the whole thing because you don't want to be like told different, then I feel like it's just like a straight path. Like you wouldn't grow from there.
That's right. Failure can be absolutely part of the process, and failure is just another way to learn. And so people that aren't afraid to kind of pay attention to the real evidence and adjust and try a different path. That's what I would say is a big challenge a lot of entrepreneurs have a hard time overcoming.
And like as an entrepreneurship teacher, do you feel like it can be like taught to someone, or do you feel like it's something you can only truly learn by doing yourself?
Well, those are not mutually exclusive, right? Sometimes we teach through experiential learning.
Yeah, of course.
I do think it's not something you're going to learn by sitting in a classroom or reading a book. But sometimes even in the classroom, we do experiential things. We also really encourage people to get out and interact with the real world. So yes, I do think there's a very strong practical experiential piece to it. But there are a lot of things you can learn through an educational program, some of which are in class, some of which might be connected to a class. They can also be valuable. But no, it's not like you can't read a book and then assume
and learn everything, like practice. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And so basing off like where you live in DC and where Georgetown is. So Georgetown obviously has such a strong global and like policy focus. And how do you think being in Washington DC influences like the kind of entrepreneurs your students become? Like, do you think that has an impact on the type of people that they later become?
That's a good question. I think Washington certainly is known as a hub of global power. And it's not known for entrepreneurship. Our local community is one of the top 5 kind of venture communities in the U.S. and considered a top 20 startup city in the world. But that's not what we're known for mostly, right?
Yeah.
So I think, the students that come to Georgetown and the alumni that we work with, they come from everywhere and they often go other places too.
Yeah.
So a lot of the entrepreneurs we work with don't stay in DC. But I think those that come through Georgetown, one of the things that may be common to them is a sense of civic responsibility, right? Being an entrepreneur, no matter what your career is, you need to care about other people. There are some models of entrepreneurship that basically say, make money, break things, doesn't matter about your broader impact on the world. And that's not what our entrepreneurs are generally doing. They're trying to solve a problem that makes a difference in the world, and they care about the people around them and the environment around them and all that. So in DC, we do have more startups that are connected to regulated industries. So that might make sense. But those are some of the biggest problems to solve, whether it's around education or energy or transportation or healthcare. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs who may be working on really hard problems related to those big kind of challenges there.
And I feel like something that's so like prominent and something that like Georgetown emphasizes so much is like the fact of making an impact on like the broader community and making an impact on the world. And like I feel like maybe in other places or in other universities, the entrepreneurs that are generated are people who are just after the wealth and like, you know what I mean? Like after just doing the business, breaking through like just one straight path. But I feel like it's so different in Georgetown and like in the community, because I feel like everyone there has the same goal of like fixing a problem or making an impact. And that's why I feel like everyone there, or everyone who gets an education there, is so much different. It's like you can contrast them a lot with people from other places because that they want something else. You know what I mean?
I think that's accurate. I think, we call it something, or we have a concept we call entrepreneurship for the common good. And it doesn't mean profits aren't important. We do believe in capitalism and competition, and you can't have any double or triple bottom lines if the first bottom line doesn't work. So making money is great, but you also do it in the context, of how do you treat your employees, how do you treat your customers, how do you treat the world around you. All those kind of things are also important, and when you can consider your impact on humanity more broadly than just a bottom line, sometimes it means you can be much more financially successful when you have all those things aligned. So yeah, I do think that's something that I'll share an example with you. When I talk to a lot of groups of students or even people from all over the world, I often ask them, when they think of entrepreneurs, who do they think of? And the answers I get are pretty similar no matter where you're from. Pretty much 80 to 90% of the time I hear Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, right? It's a bunch of white guys who are all started companies in the US and tech companies that became huge. There's some similarities between those people. It's true they're entrepreneurs, so there's no, you're not wrong if that's who you think of, but you would be wrong if you assume that all entrepreneurs have to be like that. And that's a big problem. People think, if I'm not like a white male tech bro, like those kind of dudes, then it's not for me. Right. Or if I don't want to be like them, there's a lot of people that are like, I don't like those guys so much. So if you don't want to be like that's great. You don't have to be like that to be an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of mythology and kind of popular culture around that we try to demystify.
But like, can joining those two things together and like wanting to make a profit, but also caring about the impact you have, I think is like the most important. Like, I think what would make you the most successful.
Yeah. It can also make you just a happier person in general.
Yeah. And so, as we know, also AI is changing our world drastically in like today's day compared to how it was before. And like for me, even so many jobs that the people my age are gonna have in the future like aren't even existed yet, because we don't even know. Like it sounds a bit scary, but it's also can be very helpful and beneficial. But AI is moving so fast. And so with AI changing so quickly, what softer skills like leadership, empathy, communication do you think will matter even more for my generation of entrepreneurs that will have so much access to this technology?
I think you hit on that very well. Like things like empathy, that's the number one quality I think is important for an entrepreneur, and maybe for any human, is to just understand your impact on other people. And understand what they're going through. I do think the wonderful thing about AI and a lot of new technologies is it makes entrepreneurship more accessible. Like anybody without any technical skills can build a basic app, can build a website, can start interacting with customers. That is just so dramatically different than even a couple of years ago, but certainly 15 years ago. It used to take a lot of money just to get started.
Like if you want to now do research or something, you can do it in less than 10 seconds. As comparison to before, it would take maybe months to complete something that you can do now in just a couple seconds. Like it's crazy to see how much.
When I was a college student, the norm was, a semester-long entrepreneurship course. You come up with an idea and you work for 10 or 15 weeks on a business plan. And at the end of it, you present your business plan and you're basically full of assumptions and you haven't interacted with the real world. You can come up with an idea. Like you and I could sit here and 10 minutes from now, we could come up with an idea. We could do some basic research. We could even have a full business plan created by AI tools in just a matter of minutes. Now you then have to go and validate all the work, but a lot of it is helpful. It's so much faster to do all that. So that's the good news, right? But the challenge is making those things work in the real world. And that's where understanding human beings, how they act, how they are going to interact with your business idea, all that kind of stuff matters so much more. So that's where things like a liberal arts education, which is a part of what we do, every student at Georgetown has to take a lot of liberal arts. It's not hardcore techies that are going to be most successful. There's always room for new techs, for sure. There's going to be some of that, but I think that always has to be, there's always a place for people that kind of figure out like difficult problems and how you can solve them. And, that's, I think, the most important thing. I would add, like, this entrepreneurial mindset is what we would love for every student to have. And that doesn't mean everybody has to be a founder of a startup, right? An entrepreneurial mindset means you can thrive in a world full of disruption. You can solve problems in a world that is full of ambiguity. Like most high school students and college students are taught, hey, if you do well on the test and get good grades, then you're going to be successful. And you kind of understand the path.
So much
but the real world is full of, there's not an answer key in the real world. So being able to deal with all that kind of ambiguity and change and disruption, that's what a lot of young people, I think, should be. Make yourself comfortable with all that discomfort and ambiguity.
And like, I also feel that, like, for example, AI in the future can so easily like take over tech and like math, like, stuff like that. But when you like things you need real passion for and real human touch and personality for, like that AI will obviously never be able to compare with.
It's going to be fascinating to see, but I think you're right. I think the AI can be a tool. You should not lean too heavily on it, but you can certainly
use it to benefit.
You can leverage it in a lot of great ways. We're still learning, and I guess everybody's still learning. It's evolving rapidly, but it is changing the way we teach entrepreneurship.
And do you think it has a place in your classes or in the way you teach?
That's right. So AI is dramatically changing the ways founders build companies, but it's also changing the way people teach, no matter what your topic is. So yes, we're working on both of those. More and more experimentation, more and more kind of hands-on activities and trying things. So, before having a student, for instance, go out and do customer interviews, We might have that student do customer interviews simulated through ChatGPT. It's not the same as humans, but it's a great way to get started.
Yeah, it's a great, and like it's so cool to see how you can do this so fast now, like compared to before. And finally, bringing this back to students like me, if a high school student knows they're curious about entrepreneurship, but doesn't know exactly where they'll land or where they should start, what should they start building? Like what skills, their habits, what experiences do you think they should be exposed to? Like what's the best advice you could give to someone like me who wants to be successful in this field?
Just try stuff. I would say fail as much as you can, right? Just stick your neck out, try things that are uncomfortable. It could be building a startup, it could be something else, but get yourself out of your comfort zone, try new things. And then I would say another thing to really develop is a habit of self-reflection, right? Think about, what did I learn? What felt good about this? What didn't feel good? And I think that I will say, I mentioned earlier, empathy might be the most valuable skill. I may change and say that self-awareness, which is, empathy might be understanding other people. Self-awareness, knowing yourself. Because I think if you know yourself really well, it helps you figure out what kind of entrepreneur you want to be. And when you launch something, it helps you understand your blind spots and your weaknesses and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say practice that. It's something we all can do better, but it's something that it takes time and it takes experience. So a lot of young people think they're supposed to know what their career is, and a lot of older people will ask you like, "Oh, what are you majoring in? What are you going to do for your career?" And so there's a lot of pressure to make those choices early. But as you gotta go through young adulthood, being really reflective on what feels good for me and what doesn't. It helps you make the decisions that are going to be right for you, not what are right for what other people expect of you. Yeah.
Like, I think that's so important for people, especially in high school or like in my position, that are now like looking to apply to unis. Like everyone's like, what are you doing? Like, what major do you want? Like, what do you want to do? Which college do you want to go to? Like, what do you want to study? And like, it can be so stressful to like want to know all the answers, but it's all like about trial and error. And like, you just need to see like what feels right, even if it's not what everyone else is doing.
I talked to one of my students yesterday. She's interested in entrepreneurship, but she's interviewing with investment banks. And she basically said, there's a good chance she'll get an offer from one of these investment banks, very prominent. But she basically said, as I've gone through this process, I feel like maybe it's not the right fit for me. And now she's at a turning point where she might get an offer as soon as today, and she feels pressure to take it because everybody thinks that's what she should do, and she spent all this time pursuing it. But in her own mind, she might already know that's not the right fit for her.
That's not what she wants to do, yeah. Like, I also, for me, like, I've been so passionate about, like, entrepreneurship and, like, this type of stuff for so long, and I think it comes out of a place as like my parents have done it, so like I've looked up to that, and like I'm like, I want to do that also. And then like I started to learn more about it, and I was like, I really enjoy doing this. And then also a couple of weeks ago, I did a Wharton course about finance, and I was like, this is so interesting. Also, like, I really love this. Like, I could see myself doing this, but like, I don't know. And then also I did a summer camp in Bocconi University with digital marketing, and like I was like, I also like this. Like, I don't know, like, like it's so like stressful. Like, you don't know what you want to do.
Well, and life is long. You don't have to choose only one, right? It's not a life sentence. In the US, the median age of a first-time founder is 42 years old. So being a first-time founder doesn't have to be when you're in college or right out of school. That's another one of those myths. So I think another thing I might advise young people to do is work in a startup, do an internship. I think starting your own business without ever having worked in a startup is like driving a car if you've never ridden in the passenger seat. Like it's full of. That's why so many founders fail, is because it's such a brand new thing. So you don't put pressure on yourself to be a founder too early. You can certainly try things, and maybe something works, but even if it doesn't, you learn from it. But another option is find a startup that somebody else has created. They've taken the highest amount of risk, If they have some momentum, they might even be able to pay you. This could be a job, not just an internship. I worked at a venture-backed startup earlier in my career, and it was one of the most valuable learning experiences I've ever had. So you don't have to be the founder. You don't have to be the big idea, the big risk person. You can join a team that's solving a problem you care about, learn so much from all those people. That can be a great career. Even in my experience, the company ended up failing. I still got paid along the way and learned a lot and had other job offers at the end of it. It's not that risky. So yes, that's another thing I'd say is try to get entrepreneurial experiences beyond just trying to start your own thing.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Professor Reid. And I really appreciate you sharing your insights and your experience and your different perspectives about entrepreneurship. And I learned so much, and I especially loved hearing about your perspective on AI. I thought that was really cool. And I learned so much, and I'm sure so many other people who are watching will learn so much about what you've said. And thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you, Kenza, for this opportunity. I enjoyed talking with you, and thanks for the work you're doing, kind of sharing these lessons for other people.
Thank you so much.
Best wishes.